In New York, young Clary Fry arranges to meet her best friend, Simon, at a club. While talking on the phone, her mother, Jocelyn, and her friend Luke arrive home and see a strange symbol that the girl has drawn on a piece of paper. Jocelyn seems to know what it means, and Luke tells her to talk to her daughter as soon as possible. However, she thinks it's too early to reveal everything to Clary and keeps the matter a secret until the right moment. Minutes later, Clary and Simon arrive at the club where the girl sees the same symbol drawn on her cappuccino. As if that weren't strange enough, after the performance, the two return home until the girl sees the image again on a nightclub sign. She then asks the security guard what it means, but neither he nor Simon can see the symbol. Upon hearing what the girl said, a blue-eyed man speaks to the security guard, and soon after, he allows Clary and Simon to enter the premises. Once inside, the young man goes to get a drink while Clary watches the same guy who let her in. He then goes to talk to a woman, but suddenly the bracelet on his arm turns into a weapon, and she traps him with the help of two companions. One of them is holding a crystal sword, and with a quick blow, he finishes off the guy. Seeing this, Clary screams in despair, drawing the attention of everyone inside who, unlike her, cannot see what happened. The group is surprised to realize that the girl saw everything. But soon after, Simon appears and takes Clary away from there. The next morning, the girl wakes up in her room and is startled to see several drawings of the symbols scattered everywhere. Not knowing what is going on, she goes to talk to Simon. But first, her mother asks the girl to wait as she needs to reveal something important. However, Clary does not want to talk at the moment. And as soon as her best friend appears, the two head to a coffee shop. There, the girl shows him some of the drawings she found in her room, which she doesn't remember making, but they all contain the same symbol. To make matters worse, when she looks out the window, Clary sees the same guy who was with the group of criminals at the nightclub, and again only she can see him. The girl then asks her friend to wait while she goes to the back of the coffee shop to confront the mysterious guy. Meanwhile, Jocelyn sees the drawings in her daughter's room and fears that Clary is in danger. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door, but when she looks through the peephole, two men push the door against her and demand to know where the chalice is. Despite their strength, Jocelyn refuses to answer and faces them alone, demonstrating great combat skills. After finishing them off, she hides in the bathroom and calls Clary just as she confronts the mysterious young man. When she answers, Jocelyn warns her daughter not to come home and leaves a warning for Luke that Valentine has returned. Finally, Jocelyn sees the men trying to break into the bathroom along with her dog. They insist that she tell them where the chalice is, but instead Jocelyn drinks from a bottle and falls into a coma. Worried about her mother, Clary runs back home, but her mother is not there and the place has been destroyed. While inspecting the scene, she encounters the intruders' guard dog, which attacks her, but Clary manages to trap it in her room. Even so, the dog takes on a monstrous form and begins to break through the door. With the creature approaching, the girl goes to the kitchen, lights the stove, takes a spray can, and pours some fuel on the floor. Then she grabs a lighter and tries to get into the refrigerator, but the monster appears in the kitchen and attacks her. With great effort, Clary lights the fuel on the floor, causing the can to explode and leaving the monster in pieces. Despite her efforts, the creature begins to rebuild itself, but the mysterious man appears and eliminates the monster with a blow from his sword. He then reveals that it was a demon just like the young man he eliminated at the nightclub, and his name is Jacees Wayland, a shadow hunter. Clary doesn't believe it and rushes to talk to her neighbor Doratha to ask where her mother is. Upon opening the door, the woman shows that she can see Jace, revealing herself to be a witch. Confused, Clary demands to know what is going on, and even though she doesn't want to get involved, Doratha agrees to help her. She then places several tarot cards on the table and asks the girl to examine them, looking for the one that will give her the answer. As she places her hands on them, one of the cards sticks to her hand with the design of a chalice. The man says that this is the mortal chalice, one of the mortal instruments known only to the shadow hunters, a group of which Jocelyn was also a part. After that, Doratha uses her power to read Claire's mind, and realizes that some of her memories have been mysteriously removed. This only makes everything more confusing, and Clary decides to look for more answers in her house when she hears footsteps inside. Without hesitation, she attacks the intruder with a fire extinguisher, but realizes it is Simon. She apologizes and explains everything she has discovered, including Jace, who now allows the young man to see him as well. Finding nothing else in the apartment, Clary decides to go to Luke's workshop as he may know where her mother is. Upon arriving at the location, Jace uses a magical tool called a steel capable of creating magical runes and even seeing through objects. With this, they are able to see what is happening on the other side of the room and observe Luke being beaten by the duo who attacked Jocelyn. They demand to know where the chalice is, but Luke claims that if he knew, he would have already taken it, as he only approached Jocelyn and Clary to retrieve it. Upon hearing this, the young woman is hurt and accidentally knocks a vase to the floor. The two men set out to attack her, but Jacis finds a bear trap nearby and uses it to trap the arm of one of the henchmen. A fight ensues, but Jason manages to trap one of them in a room and escapes with Clary and Simon. After that, he decides to take them to the hunter's hideout, a place known as the Institute. From the outside, it looks like an abandoned building, but it's all an illusion to hide the real institute. As soon as they enter the place, Clary starts to feel sick and falls to the floor with Jace finding a wound on her leg made by the monstrous dog. Clary is then taken to the infirmary, and with the help of rune magic, the hunters treat her wound. The next morning, the girl wakes up and is greeted by Simon and Jace, who are relieved to see her safe. After she recovers, the group of hunters, consisting of Jace and siblings Isabel and Alec, give Clary some clothes and invite her to meet Hadge, their leader. On the way, Jace explains the difference between ordinary humans like Simon, known as mundanes, and those with the blood of shadow hunters. There is no doubt that Clary is a hunter, and now they need to unravel her past and her relationship with the Mortal Cup. Finally, Clary meets Hadge in his office, and he explains to her the origin of the hunters and their eternal struggle against demons. According to legend, an angel named Raziel poured his blood into a chalice, and those who drank it became half human and half angel. However, this power was too dangerous to use, and an organization called the Clave decided to protect the chalice. However, a group of hunters led by Valentine managed to steal the instrument, and he experimented on himself. His goal was to control the demons and end the war, but this power corrupted his mind. Jocelyn then stole the chalice and kept it hidden from everyone except Clary, who must know where it is through her erased memories. For this reason, Hadge sends Jace to accompany the girl to the cemetery where there is a secret place called the City of Bones. Once there, they encounter the Silent Brothers, beings who use the power of the city formed by the tombs of ancient hunters. With this energy, they use a magical artifact to access Claire's memories, and she begins to remember her childhood. In these images, she sees her mother removing the hunter's rune tattoos, as well as drawing Doratha's tarot cards. The memories soon begin to blur and Clary falls to the ground, but immediately afterwards, she begins to draw on the floor. Jace helps her and manages to translate the symbols which spell out the name Magnus Bane. He is a powerful warlock who lives in his own private nightclub, and the group goes there in search of answers. Upon entering the nightclub, Magnus Bane immediately recognizes Clary and calls her to his room, revealing that he was the one who blocked her memories. This was a security measure taken by Jocelyn, but the block is slowly breaking down, and Clary must find these lost memories on her own. The two continue their conversation while Simon waits at the bar with Isabel. However, one of the club's patrons slips a substance into the young man's drink, and he begins to feel ill after drinking it. Seeing that it is a vampire, one of the creatures of the underground, Isabel tries to help Simon, but finds herself surrounded by the group and is forced to retreat. She then alerts Jace, who calls the rest of the group to rescue Simon. Before that, they go to a church, which contains a secret passage with weapons against supernatural creatures. Jace gives Clary a weapon containing a retractable silver stake capable of eliminating vampires. With everything ready, the group heads to the vampire's lair inside an abandoned building. After exploring the entire place, they find Simon trapped in an elevator shaft with ropes and chains. Quickly, Clary and the group place a wooden log across the gap and manage to free Simon. However, the group soon finds itself surrounded by dozens of vampires, and using their sacred weapons, the hunters set out to face them. In the midst of the fight, Clary tries to take Simon to safety when she is attacked by a vampire. Without hesitation, she grabs the weapon given to her by Jace and pulls the trigger, eliminating the creature. Despite this, the vampires continue to outnumber them until other beings from the underground, the werewolves, appear to help the hunters. The group takes the chance to escape and heads to the top of the building, but other vampires appear to block their path. Fortunately, the sun begins to rise and the group climbs the stairs to the roof until one of the vampires tries to grab Claire's leg. Jace saves her, and the two fall together on the other side while the sunlight begins to affect the vampires, forcing them to retreat. After this confrontation, Clary thanks Jace for saving her friend's life, and the two grow closer. The next day, Clary goes to the Institute's infirmary to check on her friend. She gives him his glasses, but when he puts them on, Simon realizes he no longer needs them. This surprises Clary, and soon after, she sees fang marks on Simon's shoulder, indicating that he has been bitten by a vampire. Despite the risks, she decides to keep this a secret and goes to look for Jace, who is playing the piano in Hodge's room. He reveals that music can be a weapon as demons cannot stand songs played at 2 different frequencies. In addition, he shows her the portal that hunters use to travel between worlds containing a type of liquid that serves as a wormhole. Jace does a test, and after taking a small amount of the liquid, he places it next to Clary, then passes his arm through the portal. When he does this, his hand passes through the liquid and caresses Claire's face, which impresses her even more. Finally, Jace invites her to go to the castle greenhouse, as he saw in the archives that today is Claire's birthday. Once there, he tells her about his difficult childhood with his father, which he would rather forget, and why he can barely remember his face. The two continued talking until midnight when the flowers around the greenhouse bloom, emitting a light that illuminates the entire place. Clary is enchanted by all this beauty, and especially by Jace, who declares his true feelings for her. She responds with a kiss, but a heavy rain begins to fall, and they must return to their rooms. Arriving in the room, the two exchange another kiss, but Simon appears on the other side and sees the couple. Clary tries to explain, saying that it was nothing, but Jace is offended by this response and leaves. Simon is also enraged to see the two together, and after so long, he finally declares his love for his friend. However, he already understands that this will never be reciprocated and leaves the institute, which only leaves Clary even more confused about her feelings. Unable to sleep, the girl goes to the library and begins to study the meaning of the runes that hunters tattoo on their bodies. While replicating the runes in drawings, the girl places a cup of tea on top of her notebook. But when she tries to pick it up, the cup sinks into the page. Somehow the girl manages to pull it back and realizes that she is able to store objects in books, as if they were images. Hadge sees everything and realizes that Clary has the same gift as her mother, with the girl finally discovering where the chalice is. She then goes to call Jace and the others, who follow her back to her apartment. Once there, she knocks on Doratha's door and asks to look at her tarot cards, but the woman says she will only allow them in if Jace leaves his weapons outside. He obeys, and as soon as the two enter her apartment, Clary finally finds the card with the drawing of a chalice. As expected, she manages to pass her hand through the image and finally pulls out the mortal chalice hidden by her mother. However, upon doing so, Doratha reveals her demonic form and attacks Clary. Jace tries to help her, but the creature is stronger and throws him away, knocking him unconscious. Outside, Alec and Isabel hear the noise and try to break into the house, but Doratha locks the door. Then the creature releases a tentacle from its body and uses it to take the chalice from Claire's hands. With great effort, Isabel and Alec manage to break into the apartment, but are easily defeated by Doratha. The creature then moves to finish off Clary, but Alec grabs Doratha from behind and tells the girl to run. Unfortunately for him, the monster releases one of its tentacles and with its fangs strikes Alec in the back. With all the hunters defeated, the creature leaves but ends up encountering Simon, who learned from the neighbors that Clary had returned. The woman says she hasn't seen the girl, but Clary appears at the window next door, saying that this is not the real Doratha. Realizing the deception, Simon grabs a shovel from the garden next door and hits the mad woman on the head, but his blow does not cause her any harm. Even so, the young man attacks the mad woman and pushes her back into the apartment, with Jason grabbing his sword and finishing off the creature. After that, Clary and Simon reconcile, but Alec is seriously injured, and not even the runes can heal him. The group then rushes to take him back to the institute, and Clary runs to the library to ask Hadge for help. The leader of the hunters says he has already sent someone to help Alec and asks if Claire has managed to recover the chalice. The girl then removes the instrument from the card and hands it to Hadge, who with the item in his hands reveals his true intentions. He then opens the portal, and from within it emerges Valentine, who takes the chalice and intends to use its power for his evil plans. His goal is to end the war with the demons, allowing the hunters to dominate their enemies. After discovering the whole plot, Clary demands to know where her mother is, but Valentine assures her that she is hidden in a safe place. Not only that, but he reveals that in the past they were a couple, and he is Clary's real father. Finally, Valentine puts some of the blood in the chalice and hands it to his daughter, so she can drink it and join him in his plan. Instead, Clary puts the instrument back in the tarot card and jumps toward the portal, hoping to find her mother. However, she ends up in the city center next to Luke's workshop. Suddenly, Clary sees a little girl playing in the middle of the street, but she soon reveals herself to be a monster. Before she can attack Clary, the creature is stopped by a werewolf who jumps towards her and destroys her inside a store. After the fight, the werewolf reveals himself to be none other than Luke, Jocelyn's friend. He explains that his words while being attacked were just a ruse to protect Clary from Valentine's servants. He also says that he was part of the hunters, but when Valentine turned against the Clave, he faked his perishment and that of a young man. That young man was his son and Clary's older brother, who was named Jonathan Morgenstern. Back at the Institute, Valentine begins to collect Hodge's weapons and creates a type of rune on the floor. After placing them all, the symbol seen from above reveals itself to be a pentagram. And with that, the portal to the demonic world opens with several raven-shaped creatures approaching the Institute. Nearby, Jace continues to take care of Alec when he hears noises coming from Hodge's room. He then goes there, and upon seeing the weapons forming the pentagram, he tries to undo the symbol, but is stopped by Valentine. The man says he has been waiting for the hunter for a long time, and reveals that his real name is Jonathan. Not only that, but his last name is not Wayland, but Morgenstern, proving that the young man is Clary's long-lost brother. Jace refuses to believe it, but Valentine accesses his memories, showing him the face of his father, which is identical to his own. While Jace discovers the tragic truth, Isabel and Simon take care of Alec until Magnus appears at Hodge's request to heal him. He then sends the two to fetch ingredients to make the cure, with Isabel taking Simon to the Institute's warehouse. Once there, they begin to collect the medicines when Simon sees Clary's mother still in a coma in one of the rooms. He quickly calls Clary, telling her he has found her mother at the Institute. With no time to lose, she asks Luke for help, who summons his fellow werewolves to go to the Institute and save Jocelyn. Meanwhile, Isabel takes the medicines to Magnus while Simon stays with Jocelyn. However, Valentine's henchmen show up, forcing Simon to hide in another room and taking Jocelyn's body to their master. Shortly after, Isabel returns to find Simon, but the two begin to be attacked by monsters coming out of the portal. The two then team up to escape, with the hunter eliminating those who cross their path using her sword. After that, they try to find another exit from the Institute, but come across Clary, Luke, and the werewolf pack. They say they came to rescue Jocelyn, but before they can do anything, the monsters return and begin to eliminate the werewolves. The group then flees through the warehouse until they reach a room with no exit. Luke and Isabel prepare for a last stand until Clary decides to take the hunter's steel and draws a rune on her hand. Somehow, the girl draws a design never seen before, and by invoking magic, she manages to freeze the monsters in time. Thanks to this, the group manages to escape unharmed. But the effect of the rune will soon wear off, and the group splits up. While Luke stays in the warehouse to face the creatures, Simon and Isabel must close the portal, and Clary must stop Valentine's plans. The girl then goes to Hodge's room and sees her father next to Jocelyn's motionless body. Seizing the opportunity, Clary threatens Valentine with her knife, but is disarmed by Jace. The hunter then tells Valentine to tell the truth, and he reveals that she and Jace, whose real name is Jonathan, are siblings. Seeing the connection with what Luke told her, Clary cries, not knowing who to trust anymore. Valentine tries to comfort his daughter and asks her to remove the chalice from the card, but when she refuses, he is overcome with rage and attacks his own daughter. Jace is enraged by this and pulls out one of the spears, destroying the rune of the portal and attacking his father. The two engage in a fierce duel, but despite the young man's skill, the old hunter is more experienced and takes Jace's spear, putting it back into the rune. Meanwhile, Isabel grabs a flamethrower and goes to the source of the portal, where she uses the weapon to set the creatures on fire. However, one of Valentine's henchmen tries to stop her, but Hadge appears on the scene and, seeking redemption, protects Isabel and Simon. After a fierce fight, Hadge throws the boomerang at the man, who manages to dodge it, but the weapon returns and hits him in the back. At that same moment, Isabel continues to fire the flamethrower, but is knocked down by the creatures. So, Simon takes the weapon and protects her, setting the monsters on fire. With creatures appearing non-stop, Hadge sacrifices himself and takes the flamethrower to eliminate the creatures while Isabel and Simon flee. Back in the hall, Jace and Valentine continue to fight, but the old hunter overpowers him and threatens to push his son's head against the statue's sword. However, Clary manages to wake up in time, and she removes the chalice from the card and threatens to throw it toward the portal. Valentine approaches his daughter and tries to convince her not to do it. So the girl hands him the chalice, but immediately kicks the madman, pushing him straight into the portal. The fight seems to be over, but in a last effort, Valentine begins to pull her by the arms. Fortunately, Jace saves her, using his steel to freeze the portal, causing the liquid to trap Valentine. However, using his energy, Valentine causes the liquid to explode, destroying the portal and disappearing without a trace. With the fight over, Clary reveals that the chalice given to her father was only a replica, and the real one remained hidden inside the card. Later, the group takes Jocelyn to the hospital where she slowly recovers from her coma. Simon advises his friend to go home and get some rest, with Clary returning to her apartment, which remains destroyed. Using the power of the runes, the girl invokes magic and begins to restore her old apartment to its normal form. Shortly after, Jace appears and Clary tells him that she hopes she can return to the Institute as the Shadow Hunters need her. After everything she has discovered, the girl does not know if she still wants to return, but Jace tells her that in his heart, he does not believe that the two are siblings. He intends to find out the truth anyway, and so Claire offers to help him unravel the past with the two returning to the Institute. So, what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps.